shutting down their facility Wednesday after wide receiver Kendrick Bourne tested positive for COVID-19. The Niners tonight, injury/COVID related, without Jimmy Garoppolo, Tevin Coleman, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and Trent Williams. The Packers are also being ravaged on their side of the ball with some coronavirus illness-related departures as well. And Louisville, Virginia, scheduled to play Saturday. That game has been postponed to November 14th due to a coronavirus outbreak. 15 members of the Cardinals tested positive, including 10 players, 5 members of their staff. You may recall Louisville was about 9 players when they lost to Virginia Tech, dropping them to 2-5 in Scott Satterfield's second year on the job at Louisville. And SportsCenter is presented by Progressive. Get your quote at progressive.com today.
I'm not saying they're going 16-0, but if you take a look at their schedule right now at 7-0, they might not lose 2 the rest of the way.
What they are able to do is they're able to score early. They're able to consistently move the chains, and their defense is playing really well.
Clearly, we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers there, the NFL's lone unbeaten, sitting at 7-0 with the Cowboys. You can almost pencil them in for 8-0. They are certainly a Super Bowl contender. The guys have their Super Bowl contenders. I'm looking at him. Jay's list is noticeably smaller than Key's. Harder to get on Jay's list of Super Bowl contenders. Key, let's run through yours in the AFC. Then we'll get Jay's in the AFC. We'll do the same for the NFC. All right, let's begin. You have in the AFC Pittsburgh, KC, Baltimore, and the Raiders at 4-3, still in your Super Bowl mix. Explain yourself.
Well, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and Baltimore, obviously, those teams are the cream of the crop right now in the AFC. The Raiders are there because the Raiders are a kind of one day they're good, the next day they're not. One day they're good, the next day they're not. But you may get them on the day that they're good. And the day that's all it takes is for you to get into the playoffs.
Ask the Chiefs about that.
And they are a playoff wild card contending team. Now, you may say, oh, they still can catch Kansas City and win the division. I'm sure the Raiders and John Gruden are thinking that way because they already beat Kansas City in Kansas City. They take on the Chargers, which the Chargers coming off a pretty good football game themselves. And Justin Herbert's been playing pretty well, haven't gotten the necessary wins. But you look at the Raiders, the Chargers. Then the Raiders take on the Broncos. Then they got the Chiefs again in Las Vegas. They got the Falcons, the Jets, the Colts, which will be a tough one, the Chargers again, the Dolphins, and then they end with the Broncos. So their schedule, for the most part, is pretty favorable for them to make the playoffs, whether it's to win the division or a wild card spot. Again, as long as you get in the playoffs, that's all it takes. And then you hit. Look at Tennessee, look at Kansas City, look at those teams from a year ago.
In the AFC, Jay's list, as I mentioned, considerably smaller. Key's got 4 teams. Jay has 2. Pittsburgh and Kansas City. Jay, how about the rationale, and why no Baltimore?
I just think those 2 teams are the cream of the crop, and as I've listened to Key and a lot of other experts, I know Key loves when I listen to experts, watching Lamar Jackson and watching him not progress to the next level this year, that concerns me. And I ultimately, I do wonder, I just feel like Lamar Jackson and company do not have enough in the tank to beat Kansas City. Like, they have their number. I don't believe in the Ravens and the Raiders. They're too inconsistent for me. Those are the 2 consistent teams that I think come each and every day to play.
And those would be, in Jay's mind, Pittsburgh and Kansas City. Let's go to the NFC, Key. Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Seattle, and Green Bay. I think a lot of people listening, wherever they are, in their cars, at home, I think they're nodding their head saying that seems just about right.
It does. It is about right. Not necessarily in that order. It's just those are the 4 teams. The New Orleans Saints get Michael Thomas back hopefully this weekend against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. They'll certainly show what they have. We looked at it in week 1, and it's week 1 for Tom Brady. He'll get better. Of course he's going to get better. That is the case with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The New Orleans Saints will continue to get better as they get their top weapon back. 149 receptions for Michael Thomas a year ago. You can't continue to lean heavy on Alvin Kamara because you need other players to be able to do something. Seattle, obviously, we know what that is with Russell Wilson. Their defense seems to continue to get better. And then when you look at the Green Bay Packers, if they would have made any sort of major trade, They probably could have helped the receiving core, but they needed to shore up the defense on the linebacker side. Shut up, Jay Will.
I didn't even say anything.
You're saying I'm going too long. I get it.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I was just, hearing you on Green Bay in the trade, and I'm just imagine if Aaron Rodgers had Will Fuller, just somebody else.
I trade meaning on the defensive side. They need a linebacker.
They need a lot.
We definitely don't want Jay to shut up. This is his time to talk. And by the way, we need to get you guys back on the same page. And the best way to do this is to say, Jay, your NFC teams exactly match Key's.
Yeah, Key just wants me to shut up and dribble. I get it.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Jeez.
Here's what I will say. In this order, Tampa Bay Bucks, I have Seattle, and obviously Russell Wilson has had a phenomenal year, leading MVP voting. I get all that, but I think their defense is going to take another step when Carlos Dunlap comes back, Jamal Adams comes back. Mm-hmm. Then you have New Orleans. I'm still waiting for Key to tell me when Michael Thomas is going to come back. I mean, I every single
He'll
day,
be back at some
I keep
point.
asking questions, and I get no answers. Family protects family. I get it. And then Green Bay, just because after seeing Dalvin Cook run for as many yards as he ran last weekend and seeing him go for 4 TDs, their defense needs a lot of help. And I just hate to say it. Aaron Rodgers, 36 MVP caliber level. He's not going to get the help offensively on the side of the ball that he needs to have in order for them to win the Super Bowl.
Okay, so Key, Jay just ranked them Tampa Bay, Seattle, New Orleans, Green Bay. That's his 1, 2, 3, 4. You have those 4 teams.
Yeah.
Why don't you rank them? Because I do feel it could be razor thin. There's a lot of talent at the top of the NFC.
Well, I'm going with New Orleans as 1.
Okay, so
the
that
Saints
Jay
number
has them
1.
at 3. You have them at 3, right?
I'm assuming Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders will be back before the end of the season. Mm-hmm. And if they don't hurry up and get back, that New Orleans will figure out a way to continue to keep winning. I'll make that 1. I'll make Seattle my 2. I'll make Tampa Bay my 3 and Green Bay my 4.
We should mention Michael Thomas. Obviously, there's a situation with when he'll return, and Sanders has a COVID-related issue he's dealing with.
Situation when he will return is medical. So let's make sure we get the listeners to understand it's medical.
Gotcha.
What's putting Tampa Bay at number 3?
Because the other 2 teams are better.
That easy?
To me, yeah. It's that easy to me.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. Right now, just to reel it off, if you're just tuning in, Key's Super Bowl contenders across the board. The Steelers, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Raiders, the Bucks, the Saints, the Seahawks, the Packers. Jay's list noticeably smaller. The Steelers, the Chiefs, that's it in the AFC. And then he matches Key in the NFC with the Bucks, the Saints, the Seahawks, and the Packers, who will kick off Week 9 of the NFL season tonight against the San Francisco 49ers. And we saw with Aaron Rodgers, once they come off a loss this year, as Rodgers said, maybe we needed the swift kick in the you-know-what. They bounce back big time. As Jay mentioned earlier this morning, they're coming off a loss to the Vikings, a stunning loss to the Vikings. We'll see how they bounce back tonight. Sample size says that when the Packers get whipped,